look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
This is Dan Jurgen.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to The Krypton Report.
The Krypton Report podcast is dedicated to all things Superman, Supergirl, and the planet Krypton. We discuss movies, TV, game, comics, and all things DC. So join me, Tyler, with my co-host James and Jania. Welcome to the Krypton Report. I'm your host, Tyler, and this week, our episode is brought to you by Zoa. That's right, Zoa. Not really, but we wish. We beg, we plead, but never do we get any free Zoas. But hey,
it's a very. I mean, I wish I got free Zoa. Yeah, it's. I like them. They're very tasty.
I know, right? Like I love Zoa. I'm like, come on.
It feels like good, clean energy.
I drink way too many of them. But hey, that's not. This isn't the Zoa podcast. I would like to welcome James as always, and we have a special guest here. Something we've been trying out here. It's been great. I've really loved having other people's voices. And from Twitter, Mr. Edward of many fandoms. Ed, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. It's great to have you here. We're thrilled. We're excited.
All right.
We're overjoyed. You know why? Because we're starting to get cabin fever. We're stuck inside, snow, ice, children.
I don't know. I mean, you're getting cabin fever. I've been stuck working and clearing snow and driving employees in and out and all kinds of crap the last couple of days.
James, we know you're better than me, okay? You don't have to brag about it on the show, okay? I know. All right?
Well, how would other people know?
True. But no, we actually got out today and went for a walk just to the one gas station by the house was open just to kind of get out. But we've been under a level 3, so because of the ice. So yeah, good times.
Yeah, you probably got more rain than we did here.
We did. But that's not what this isn't the Ice and Zoa podcast. No.
What about Mr. Freeze?
That's what Brian's doing right now. He's currently in the middle of a Mr. Freeze marathon. So I think it's pretty cool. I might do that tomorrow. But hey, we have a guest. So Ed, it's time to ask you some questions about Superman.
Cool.
Tell us your tale. Like what got you into the character? Like where does it start from you?
I'm going to answer your question with a question myself. Which, are we talking comics or are we talking other media?
Whichever first. Like for me personally, I think my first Superman memory kind of comes down to seeing the Fleischer cartoons on VHS and then finding some comics here and there. And as I got a little bit older, I found more of the comics. But mine definitely started with the cartoon into the films.
So my first interaction with Superman was the Super Friends cartoon, reruns of it on whatever channel that was on in 1992. That evolved into watching Lois and Clark with my parents. Probably should not have watched that show as a 5-year-old. There's things in that they would later told me, yeah, we're glad you didn't understand that.
Yeah, I can see that. But then you watch it now, and it's one of those things that feels so squeaky clean compared to some stuff now. You're like, huh.
Oh, yeah. And then I do remember my dad brought me in 92, 93 to buy the Superman 75, the Death of Superman comic. Nice. With the blood S.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my first introduction to him in the comics.
All right. That's a good story. I always like where people kind of started because, we just always assume we're all going to have the same kind of origin tale, but it doesn't pan out that way. So here's the next question. Who is your favorite Superman? There is no wrong answer, by the way. You can, say it however you want, but which Superman is your favorite?
So are we talking Superman? Are we talking Clark Kent of Smallville? Are we talking Clark Kent of Metropolis? Or are we talking Kal-El, son of Krypton? Because those are 4 different answers.
See, I like this guy. I like this. Well, because usually what I do is I ask the Superman, then I follow it up with Clark Kent. Because Tom Welling's character is a conundrum, so it can swing either way. So we'll just go with your clearing of the question. We'll just say Superman.
So my favorite Superman at this moment is Henry Cavill, but Tyler is slowly approaching that.
Hey, like I said, there is no wrong answers, and I can understand why. I mean, I totally get that. So, who's your favorite Clark Kent then?
So this one is, as you said before with Tom Welling and stuff, it's not a clear-cut answer. I have to separate that into two categories in my mind: Metropolis Clark and Smallville Clark.
Yeah, makes sense.
Metropolis Clark, it would probably be Dean Cain.
Okay.
And Smallville Clark, it's either going to be Tom or it's going to be, again, Tyler is approaching it with the whole family dynamic. I just like his Clark Kent on Smallville. In Smallville, not on Smallville. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I totally understand. You know, the thing is, and I've said this before, as a performance, I enjoy Christopher Reeve's Clark, but as the character of Clark, I don't like it because I feel like he goes way too far the other direction. Because in one way, I don't think it would make him a very effective reporter, being that outlandishly clumsy and goofy. I don't think people would trust him. Another thing is, the point of Clark is to not draw a lot of attention to yourself.
And he draws all the attention.
Yeah. And just because you're getting the negative attention, you're still pulling attention to yourself. So now it can be live action or animated. What's your favorite Superman movie?
Ooh. Man of Steel.
Okay.
But
I always gotta love the caveats. But yeah.
The director's cut, not the extended edition of Superman the movie, is a close number 2.
I understand. Like I said, there are no wrong answers to these because any given day, certain things can kind of reshuffle. You know, like one day you wake up and you're like, man, this is it. And then you're like, trunks or no trunks?
It depends on the fabric of the costume, to me.
Okay.
I like either or. If they're going for the battle suit or the more alien design, no trunks. But you need something to separate the blue, like a red belt. With the cloth, I am completely okay with the trunks.
That's a good answer. I like that. I like breaking it down by material. What do you think, James?
Yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. You know, the color, and just take Tyler for example, the color and the fabric, like his modern day suit looks really good, but one of the best suits they've ever put to screen was that Fleischer suit that he wore in the pilot episode.
Yep. I never thought I'd see that in live action.
I know. I have said that the writers and creative team behind Superman and Lois are just really hitting it out of the park with and what I call the greatest hits Superman. They know what works with the character, what we like, and they're making sure that they hit all the right notes to bring that to life.
While at the same time twisting the expectations in a way that we love.
I agree. And I have a theory that we'll get into when we discuss this episode about expectations and twisting. All right, last question. If you could have one of Superman's powers, what would it be?
Flight.
All right, fair enough. So let's check on the news, fellas. Let's see here. All right. This is a quick one. The tickets for the Batman are going to go on sale February 10th. We have the Suicide Squad game has now been moved to 2023. That's kind of weird. Like, just because I feel like I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel like I've ever seen a game like teased and trailered for almost 3 years. Because we got the first trailer teaser for that game back in 2020.
I can think of a couple examples.
I mean, games, their production, they get pushed a lot. It's just not quite as it's just not quite as mainstream, except for like, the fact that it's a DC game and we're all and we're like trying to be in the know.
Maybe I'm just paying more attention because it is a DC game than I do with a lot of other games.
So, I can actually say something about this. My cousin works for a game studio. I'm not going to say which one. And there was a major AAA game that he'd been working on for 5 years, and it was supposed to come out after 2 years of development, but they had to push it back 4 or 5 times.
Okay. Like I said, I don't ever follow them closely enough but it just seems like it's just interesting because this one I have been following. Same thing with like the Gotham Knights. I mean, the last thing we knew was supposed to come out this year, but we still don't have a date for it.
Yeah. If you followed any video game stuff, I have on and off since I was a kid. I used to be a really big gamer when I was a teenager. Some of my buddies are still like huge avid gamers. But all the movie delays and stuff we've had over the last couple of years, like you hear about video game delays a lot.
Okay. All right. Makes sense to me from you guys. Let's see. We got J.K. Simmons set photos, guys. You guys see those?
Oh yeah.
First.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of crazy to me. One, I'm liking everything I've seen as far as visual of this Batgirl film. The fact that they're shooting it in Glasgow, which means it's going to have the look and feel of the Robert Pattinson Gotham. But then we have J.K. Simmons as Gordon, which ties into the Affleck Batman. So I'm just kind of like, this Batgirl.
I have a theory about that, but it's
go for it.
It's not. Oh, you want me to? So everybody's worried that the Flash is going to erase Batfleck. I think it's going to he's going to get the death because of the Flash's meddling with time, and Keaton is stuck in that Earth trying to honor his memory by funding all the heroes and helping train the next generation.
This guy gets it.
And there's maybe some changes, like now the dead Robin was now Jason Todd instead of Dick Grayson, or some other stuff because of the Flash's time traveling and universe jumping.
See, this guy gets it. Love it. Love it, Ed. Love it. That makes a lot of sense and brings things, because like I don't mind different universes, right? I'm okay. I get it, but I hate when we start to get these kind of blended things where they're like, oh, no one will notice. And you're just kind of like, for example, like it's small and no one really pays attention, but currently on Batwoman we have Montoya. And it's the same Montoya that was played in Gotham. So it's just kind of like, in my mind, I follow these stuff way too close. I'm like, like, is it the same world? Is it it's Post Crisis, so it's blended. But it's all
well.
good
It was really just like a legacy casting, I believe, right?
I mean, it is, but it's like legacy casting in the same character.
I mean, that's not the first time it's been done, and it probably won't be the last. Look at John Wesley Shipp as the Flash.
Yeah, but he played that Flash, but he was from a different Earth in our Flash. And he played the Flash's dad. That's a different character.
Then he played his Flash again.
That's what I'm saying, but it was a different Earth. So that was fine.
Oh, yeah.
So it was the 90s Flash continued from that Earth. So, and then he played, of course, Jay Garrick, who was from Earth 3, and then he played Henry. But those are all different characters. I mean,
fair enough.
Superman is riddled with legacy casting. I mean, I'm still hoping that, based on this episode, not skipping ahead, but I know that she's already done it once. But I think having some sort of a flashback scene or something, and it's post-crisis, so we can forget it happened, but Terry Hatcher be Lois Lane's mom. I'm just fingers crossed there. Because that's like tradition for Lois Lane to be Lois Lane mom.
Well, it's usually the previous Lois Lane, so wouldn't it be Amy Adams?
But she's not coming back to TV. And you don't see her doing a TV spot,
Yeah, I don't see her coming back to the CW. Although it'd be a return to her roots.
Yeah, and she should come back as the same character, eating the fat off everybody in town.
Right? She comes back as the fat-sucking vampire.
with a jaw. Gosh, that episode's so awesome and so crazy at the same time. What else do I have here? We got casting for Titan season 4. Did you see that? We got Brother Blood. Was it so I almost said Jason Blood. I was like, no, Tyler, no. It's not Jason Blood. It is Sebastian Blood. And it's the guy Joseph Morgan, who I had seen him before when I watched The Vampire Diaries with my wife. He was also, if you guys ever saw Immortals with Henry Cavill, he was like he was the soldier that got put inside the burning bull.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I cannot pronounce the last name correctly, but Franca Panay, maybe, as Mother Mayhem, and Lisa as Jinx. So that's where we're going with season 4 of Titans. What are you guys' feelings on that one?
I'm looking forward to it. I don't hate the show.
I like the show. I want to love the show, but I like the show.
It's the same.
I feel like they can't stick the landing for some reason at the season finale, and every season it feels kind of how like on Arrow got to where it seemed like every episode was back to Oliver having to relearn the same lessons over and over and over about relying on his team. I feel like Dick Grayson's kind of been in that, where it's like, okay, Dick, it's not just the Dick Grayson show. You're a team. And I mean, they start as a team and then slowly all of a sudden they whittle it down to just everyone's an independent and then nothing. And I need Beast Boy to change into more than 2 animals. Okay. I think we have 3? A bat, a snake, a tiger. Anything I'm missing, guys?
No, that's it.
Didn't he change into a... I might be thinking something... I thought he changed into a bird for like an episode for a brief second or something.
Maybe he did.
I can't remember.
No, I mean, he was always the tiger,
Boy.
and then it was the snake in the first episode of second season, and the only other thing he turned into this season was a bat. What I did like about Beast Boy, while we're on that subject, is how he was able to change like his hands and stuff into tiger claws mid-fight, so he didn't have to change entirely into an animal. He could take on the characteristics and utilize them in battle.
I did like that. It's also great budgetary. They're like, we don't have to do the whole thing, just sand. Awesome.
I like that too. I also like how he's kind of also like a half Robin at this point in the show.
Yeah.
It's a different direction for the character, and I'm enjoying it.
Same thing with Superboy. I'm really loving their version of Superboy instead of being like the Connor, like on Young Justice, where he was angry all the time. Like I like what they're doing with him, and I'd like some more Superboy. And
I want to see that Superboy meet some Superman at some point.
Yeah, I have a theory on that. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that after we get through the news. Next part of the news, and this is just kind of weird to me, but they're reporting that they are planning to film a sequel in 2023 to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. My first thought is a direct sequel, because I'm like, I don't think it would be good, because part of that movie was the ambiguity. And I feel like if you did a sequel, you have to kind of dig into like more of the story and build up more of the world. Now, if you did a sequel that maybe was a different character, kind of like an anthology thing, that could work. What are your thoughts?
Unless you go the way that it's kind of rumored that the director of that movie, I can't remember the director, the Hangover director, Todd Phillips. He said in an interview when promoting the Joker that some of his inspirations, and one of those movies, for the life of me, I cannot remember what it was. It was about a man who did something and someone else took the credit.
Yeah, they talked about that Joaquin might not be the Joker, but the real Joker sees him and gets inspired and then becomes the Joker.
And a movie about dueling Jokers. That would be interesting.
I'm curious, but I'm also like, because I feel like you have this very interesting character piece with that movie, and it's like, do you really want to exploit it? But I mean, you made $1 billion, so of course they're going to try to make money off of it. That's the world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they're gonna try and hold on to those producing rights this time around.
And the last piece of news is that James Gunn has officially said they're going to do a second spin-off series from the Suicide Squad. Anybody want to guess what character it might be?
Kite Man, hell yeah.
They have referenced him multiple times in Peacemaker.
Yes, they have.
But seriously, I could see him using Kite Man, but if I had to guess, I think he's going to use some obscure character only like 3 people have heard about, and maybe one of his other Suicide Squad characters on a team-up road trip style show, not movie. That would be my guess.
I'm thinking if he picks a character from his Suicide Squad lineup, it'll be Ratcatcher. Because if you listen to him talk, like, that was the character, Ratcatcher, that he loved, and he was all about that character. And so I also feel like you're not going to really do a movie or a series with Bloodsport. I don't see.
Yeah.
You're assuming it's one of the living characters. What if he throws a curveball and does Polka Dot Man the series?
Hey,
well, they did. I'm pretty sure in that interview he did say something about the genres being different. That I don't think it's going to be as comedic as the Peacemaker.
So we're going to do the story of TDK and Javelin.
He did say TDK. We never saw TDK die. He did say that at some point.
I just want to see the story of, like, the Javelin. It's going to be Calendar Man. It's going to be Sean Gunn as Calendar Man versus Sean Gunn as Weasel together.
Personally, just take all the villains, Kite Man, Calendar Man, Condiment King, have them all like do their own version of the Justice League, except they're completely useless against like a single like police officer.
No, that would be entertaining. I mean, and that I feel like that is in Gunn's wheelhouse to do something like that. Are you watching Peacemaker, Ed?
Oh yeah.
I feel like this is the closest to having like James Gunn with freedom and very little like guiding and restraint. That we'll
My wife
see.
loves the show, and she thought the character in the movie was the biggest D-bag on the planet. She hated the character so much when he got shot by Bloodsport. She was like, "Yeah, he deserves it for killing Flag."
And I loved how they've handled, like, was it episode 4 was my favorite, like, episode ending of just how he's like in his room, he's like doing that dance, and like he actually struggles with the fact that he killed Flag. I like the way that was handled.
Plus, it'll be a fun twist when they bring in Flag Jr. at some point. I guarantee, played by the same actor as In-Joke.
I mean, they could.
Flag had a son, I'm pretty sure.
See, I also said it'd be interesting, like, if they did it backwards, where they bring in someone like a Clint Eastwood as Rick Flag Sr. and Joel Kinnaman was Rick Flag Jr. And they kind of do it backwards, where, like, my pitch for Suicide Squad 3 is Rick Flag Sr. shows up and he knows that Waller had it out for his son. So he has his own team going after Waller. And that's where you could bring in Deathstroke and maybe bring back Katana and kind of do this kind of 2 teams versus each other kind of thing. On the hunt for Waller.
That's actually part of the current Suicide Squad storyline. It's very, very closely similar.
Yeah, because I'm awesome like that.
But with Rick Flag Sr. by Clint Eastwood, wouldn't be the first time an Eastwood was in a Suicide Squad movie.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. So, Ed, here's my pitch. I was going to share this with you. A few episodes back, I don't know if you heard it, James and I were kind of just sitting around, and I kind of gave what we think would be the next crossover that the CW could build to, and go back and listen to the whole episode. Just, it's not very long, for the full thing, but the idea was Mongol shows up and like he appears in one episode of each season or each show in like a human disguise with like one of those hologram watches or whatever, and then basically he pulls the heroes to War World. I can't talk. And has like a tournament, but he grabs them from the newly established multiverse since the people like the Flash hasn't discovered the new multiverse yet. So then we get Superboy from Titans and Dick Grayson from Titans. Then we end up getting Brandon Routh Superman back. Then we have Tyler Superman with Green Lantern John / Diggle on Earth trying to get to War World. And we get kind of this mashup of crossover of the different shows in this like 3 or 4 episode arc.
But what would you call the crossover?
War World Rising.
Ooh.
Just
Multiverse World, War World, or War World of the Multiverse.
something like that, you know. I think because Mongol just seems like it is a villain that hasn't been used. I mean, he fits that larger than life, big, huge villain model, and I think he would be awesome to see kind of this big battle amongst the heroes. But hey,
I kind of agree. He's one of like 3 villains I want to see in live action Superman villains.
that's my quick pitch. Like I said, if you listen to the episode, it's a little bit longer and more details to it. But now, boys, it's time to talk about this week's episode. Let me pull out my old notebook here. I think we'll kind of. Do you guys want to go by beats, or do you guys want to just kind of go by character? Which do you guys prefer?
Whatever's up for you guys.
I don't know. We do it back and forth sometimes, you know.
Yeah, we'll go by character. Because I feel like my notes are a little bit. I'll be able to kind of. Because I started my notes and then I got called to the side and then I had to write some stuff down. I didn't have my book with me. So we get Bizarro. So Ed, what do you think about just the Bizarro thing? Go ahead.
So what do I think about? Like, I think it looks good. I like the look of him. I like how his hair is parted in the opposite direction and he's got the reverse powers. One thing I noticed that I don't know if you guys have noticed, it seems like when he uses some of his powers, it hurts him. It's like he flickers his head after he like does some of his powers.
I did notice that because I also noticed that when he flew at Clark Superman when they were on the farm, the necklace he had on looked like it was kind of pulling something from Clark, like energy or something. It was really quick.
It looked like it almost drew Clark towards him when they like tried to separate from each other.
That's what I saw that too and was curious about that.
Because my working theory right now is he's from the multiverse, from a like Bizarro type world. Because the way their minds are working remind me similar to how some of the other shows did, where 2 people after Crisis, where 2 people from the different Earths were on the same Earth, how they were kind of linked and had issues. But I don't know. That's just my working theory at the moment.
That's about what mine is too.
Because it's definitely not the clone aspect. I don't
No.
because how did you feel though when it was Bizarro and not Doomsday? Were you on the track that you thought it was Doomsday the whole time?
I was on the track that it was Doomsday, but in that episode, the moment that Lois said, "Don't have like a," what was it she said? "Don't have a Doomsday," or whatever it was. The line that was so on the nose, I was like, "It's not Doomsday." And then when I saw the suit, I was like, maybe it is Doomsday. But then when they broke it open, I was like, okay, I was right. It's not Doomsday. It was too on the nose for when she kept saying it.
Yeah. The only thing that bugs me about that whole thing is the inside the containment suit, he appeared large and 8 feet tall. But clearly when they're going toe to toe, he's the exact same size. So it was a deliberate a deliberate view. What they showed us was very deliberate to make you think that it was Doomsday when it wasn't. Like, it was a very deliberate, just like I don't know what you call it, lie to you. That's
Yeah.
Red herring.
basic red
Yeah.
herring.
It was
I
a
mean,
mislead.
yeah, it's they made it look like it was Doomsday. He was clearly much bigger,
I have
and then
actually a theory
he's
about that.
not.
I actually have a theory about that.
Go for it.
So, what if he is Doomsday and Bizarro? He's Doomsday on his Earth, and when he comes here, it changes him to look like a version of Superman because that's what the DNA is like on this Earth.
It could work. I like that. Mine is I would like it to be some sort of twisted version later of like Super Doomed, where like Doomsday is some sort of like Kryptonian virus, and he gets injected with it, or he slowly turns into that and becomes full on like a Doomsday by the end of the season. And
Or
kind of
what if he's the Doomsday from Krypton, and this is what he looks like on this Earth?
it's valid. I mean, they're not above of subverting and changing things. So, and that's going to get me to a point later on. But when this episode starts, we're talking Bizarro here. We see him breathing fire, and it looks pretty awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I got excited right away. I was like, oh, he's got the fire breath.
So does that mean we're going to get to see the ice vision at some point?
I mean, we should, because we are seeing the glowing blue eyes.
And that might be the closest we get to when he does his ice vision and Superman does the heat. We get to some kind of like Dragon Ball Z power struggle with the way the beams look.
So we get him, and we get what do you call it? He immediately goes to the farm. I thought that was pretty crazy and cool, of just how we have Clark and John sitting there talking, and he just shows up, and he looked awesome, just standing there on the farm, just clear shot. And Superman, like we said, he went after him. Clark did, in full Farmer Clark gear. And we saw how the necklace was reacting, and they started fighting. And then John calls for the hammer without his gauntlet. That was pretty epic. He catches it, and you can kind of see the pain in his reactions.
I think that was an early indication that what was going to happen to him at the end.
Yeah.
Like a foreshadowing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want nothing to happen to John. Okay, John Henry. I gotta say that. I try to use John Henry just because when we get to John Kent later.
Well, nothing can happen to him. He's still got to get his red cape.
And unless they do something. Okay, we're gonna jump to the end just because. So hold on, hold our thoughts. We'll go. So there's a battle. There's a big battle. John Henry finds that he can track Bizarro based on the energy signature of the necklace, but he doesn't have the tech. So Clark takes it to Anderson to track. Anderson, thinking he can do everything himself, he sends his 3 team to Bizarro, the Supermen of America.
Who I said he's sending off to their deaths.
And we hear the bones crack as Bizarro kills 2 of them.
At one time with his bare hands.
And we hear Superman Clark notices and takes off. And then Lois is like, does he have backup? And John's like, John's like, does he have backup? And Lois is like, no, not enough. And of course, John goes in his suit, and he uses all of his power in his suit to throw the hammer and hit Bizarro. And then Bizarro bounces back after a moment and punches John. Clark battles Bizarro in an epic fight, and Bizarro, he punches him, gets away, as Clark takes John Henry to the hospital, and he's basically banged up in a comatose looking state. So we got that out of the way, because here's my thought. Are they going to try to do something where Nat puts on the suit? She builds the new suit herself and tries to become Steel? Or Is it going to be something where they have to build a suit to help John Henry's recover? Or they wanted to take him out of the picture for a few episodes, then bring him back? What are you guys' thoughts?
So I think, honestly, Nat is going to be joining the U.S. military because she still doesn't fully trust Superman because a version of him killed her mom. I think she is going to go join Anderson and just, that's what I think.
That's good insight. I like that. That would be interesting, right? As things are going good and she's happy there on the farm, she's bonding with Jordan and John, and then this happens. I mean, I could see that, you know, her father's her one person, but her father wants to help, you know, he's drawn to helping. Like, he doesn't have to, but he does it anyways. He didn't have to go out and help Superman, but he did.
And my reason for that theory, by the way, was because they said, where are we going to, I think she said it in this episode, where are we going to get the tech here? And who would have the tech? The military.
Yeah, because he said something about contacting Sam. But I really like the friendship that we're getting between John Henry and Clark. And I don't want that to go away.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, his niece, Natalie, in the comics takes on the mantle of Steel. So, I mean, it would make sense for Natalie in this too at some point, but it's not necessarily the way that they will adhere to the comics like that.
I do feel she'll put on the suit at some point because even if it's just an Easter egg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
Yeah, I can see that. It would be cool. Let's see.
Before you talk about the next character,
Mm-hmm.
Did either of you notice Tag? That's his name, right? The one who survived?
Yeah.
The pose he did when he was backed away from Bizarro, I'm pretty sure that's the same like Superman action pose we've seen in like Man of Steel. We've seen from Superman a couple other times. I just thought that was a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah, now that you say that, I can see that. I did. Speaking of him, so Bizarro got his necklace knocked off, and Tag took the necklace and ran with it. The necklace, to me, and I've said this before, looks a lot similar to like the diamond-shaped Phantom Zone that we all know, but it could be, you know, a red herring, an Easter egg, or for something else, some other dimension or something, or it's the Doomsday virus locked inside. Who knows? Just saying. So let's jump to a minor character, Sam. Sam, who plays golf perfectly. And this episode, I like what they're doing with Sam Lane's character. Because everything else I've seen him in, he's always been more, well, he was still a doctor when he was on Lois and Clark. And the one episode about the robot, it was just kind of really weird. Just throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a huge fan of how Sam was on Lois and Clark. But then we get him as Michael Ironside on Smallville.
Amazing.
Yep.
You know,
is that your nostalgia talking because he was Darkseid, or is it just he was just amazing because he's Michael Ironside?
Because he's Michael
A
Ironside.
little bit of both, but because he's Michael Ironside mostly.
I mean, I still think of him telling me, you know, I think of Michael Ironside still yelling at me, asking me if I live forever, you know, as we go shoot giant bugs on Clendathu. So
Really? Because I see him getting his arms ripped off by Arnold.
I was gonna say,
see
his
how
line
Michael
from
Ironside,
Total Recall.
see how Michael Ironside just gets all of us excited. And what's funny is, you know, the fact that Michael Ironside later goes to play Leonard Snart's father on The Flash, and the actress who played Lucy Lane on Smallville goes to play Leonard Smart's sister on The Flash.
I forgot about that.
I just thought that was kind of a nice, funny nod. And then what is the other actor's name? Is it Don something? No, who played Sam Lane in Supergirl, pre-crisis Sam Lane. He was the same kind of, very kind of cold military man. And I like now with Dylan Walsh as Sam Lane, there's a little bit of a man seeking redemption in his family character that I really love. And it's the most fleshed out, non-one-dimensional Sam Lane we've had. So I appreciate that, and especially with his grandchildren. And we get this scene that's going back up just a step of Jordan using his freeze breath to stop some people robbing a school friend's store, and then learns that they have security cameras. I thought it was cool. He used his freeze breath, but he didn't even think to look for security cameras. He calls his grandfather, who mysteriously gets the footage to scramble. And I love the line. He's like, I ran the Department of Defense. You don't think I could do this? He's like, this is like beating Candy Crush.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. He said,
Candy Crush can be hard for some.
Right?
And then we jump to the end of the episode where Jordan asks Sam to train him so that he can help his dad. And Sam agrees, saying we have to keep it a secret.
Which is gonna, backfire at some point for some reason.
It's either going to backfire or it's going to be one of those things that Jordan actually helps Clark in a time of need. And Clark has to realize that his son can do this. Kind of like the way that Clark's parents had to realize that Clark had the ability to do things. Mainly Martha, the way that this is playing out.
But how will Lois react to it?
And that's what's going to be interesting. So, Jordan had a nice little, it seems like right now the boys are going to take a little bit more of a backside, which is fine. I like when they shift focus in the different episodes. I find every character's story interesting, except there's one character on the show I don't like, and we'll get there. John, man, how'd you guys feel about what John did this week?
I mean, you saw it coming. He was going to do that. He's going through that character moment of where he has to make a mistake to learn from it. And I honestly also see it as either his first step to becoming or where Jordan is becoming like Superboy. Jonathan becoming like a new Lois Lane, or Jordan's Lex Luthor.
Yeah. My thing is it's ex-Kryptonite, but the thing is he is part Kryptonian. Even if his powers haven't manifested or anything, his physiology is part Kryptonian, where he doesn't know what could happen. Because what it sounds like, if you listen, everyone who takes it develops one of Superman's powers. And I'm wondering if Jonathan either is going to get more, or what if it doesn't wear off? They said that, you take it and then it wears off and you have to get more.
Or it manifests his powers.
And that's what Jania said. What if it starts to manifest his powers?
Yeah.
Or what if it
I think
mutates him?
Jordan's was because of his his emotional state, why they manifested the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking of a negative reactions, side effects of. I thought he was going to get sick from it.
Yeah, like Ed said, about mutating. What if it started mutating him or something?
What I was thinking about that was, so Jordan is basically, he's got Clark's powers. He's got his dad's powers. He's got the heat vision, freeze breath, the strength, the speed. What if Jonathan is getting the Connor Kent version of the superpowers, with the, what is it called?
Telekinesis, tactical telekinesis.
All that stuff. What if he it mutates into that, and that way they can have both versions of Superboy in a way in the show?
That would be cool. That would be some way of doing it differently, and having John develop something in a way that. And I mean, what if it's something where You know how like did you watch Young Justice, Ed?
That's
season 1.
I haven't watched Young Justice yet. I want to. That's just I haven't gotten around to it.
All right, all I'm going to say is one thing. We won't go into detail, but James, you know what I mean. Shields. That's all I'm going to say. Shields. I don't want to spoil anything for Ed. I do think it's interesting that Candace is the one providing it. She's the seller. I think we got to find out who's the main supplier that she's getting it from. How much is this stuff? Because Timmy over there is buying multiple inhalers. What's he doing for it? Like, where's he getting this money? So we're going to have a storyline of like kids starting to, steal, commit crimes to get money to buy this drug.
But we also don't know Timmy's financial situation, because technically only one of Jonathan's parents has a paying job.
Clark's running the farm. We know this. And the farm is doing wonderful.
I'm just saying, what if Timmy's parents are like one's like Smallville's lawyer and one's Smallville's doctor?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you don't know. That's what I'm kind of curious about, like potential storylines of where this could go. I had another thought, but oh well, it'll come back to me. So we've done Bizarro, Jordan, Sam. I'm saving a certain character for last. I'm kind of going, Sarah. She had a little bit of some playability in this episode with the fact that the mayor is digging up past, and she's standing her ground about who she is, and
she's her father's daughter.
Yeah, I like where she's going, but let's talk about her father for a moment. So Kyle's being a strong, supportive husband. I didn't hate Kyle in the first season. What I appreciated about the character was you understood the character. They gave him a good point of view, even though you weren't happy always with why him being aggressive towards Lois and stuff, but you understood at least what he was trying to accomplish. So how you guys feeling about the little hat tip at the end?
I'm just curious how it's going to be resolved with Lana. Like, either going to be they get divorced or they work through it. There's no third option I see.
Or, Kyle murders her and buries her and becomes a serial killer.
I mean, I don't see that happening in this show. Maybe another show, but not this one. He's not going
to change his name to Davis Bloom? What? No, I see it coming out during the election, and it's something that they're going to have to face. It's going to kind of parallel how, the Jordan and Sarah had this bump in their relationship on what to do, and now there's going to be this major hurdle for Kyle and Lana, and what's she going to do as she works towards her mayoral campaign. I'm interested, but I'm kind of sad by Kyle.
I think we were all sad about Kyle there.
Everyone was just starting to like Kyle, and now we're like, we don't.
It was that WTF, Kyle. What's going on?
And yeah. So that brings us Clark's story. We kind of hit on, Clark had a lot of good beats with John Henry. But the main focus of this episode, and that's what we're getting to, is Lois. I like the way this episode opened with the flashback of Lois and Lucy. I've seen Jenna Dewan act in, I think, 2 things. One was a show I watched with my wife called The Witches of East End. And then the other was, of course, Supergirl. And I'm really liking what she was bringing in this episode. It was different from what I'd seen her do before.
Same.
I think that opening was great with the dynamic of the two. I think that where it goes, where Lois gets tricked and lets her guard down for her sister, to where she sets her up because she tells her to meet her in a certain room, and the room was bugged with a camera, shows a lot of where Lucy is as a character. And I mean, there's a lot to dissect here. I mean, so we have the cold opening, and then when we get back to the cafe, and Allie stands up, and then we realize that everyone else that's in the cafe,
Oh, four guys.
is her followers. I kind of wanted something where they kind of were coming towards her, and then you just saw Jordan and Jonathan walk in, and be one of those like things. I just want to see Jordan punch some people.
But mad respect to Lois because she didn't even flinch.
No, she did not. And that's a true Lois Lane moment right there.
Very
Wasn't her
much
first
so.
rodeo.
So I want to get this out of the way real quick. I've heard some people say, and I was thinking about it, that Allie could be Granny Goodness in disguise. But what if she's Godfrey in disguise?
So her name, when they said her name, something about it seemed familiar to me, and I couldn't remember why, and I had to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's the same name they used for one of the parasites. And she's a literal parasite in this show. Just not in the traditional sense. It's more of the human spirit sense.
That's interesting. I was thinking, like, when I heard someone say Granny Goodness, I was like, I could see it. And then I was thinking, what if it's like a Godfrey or Desaad even? Because as the episode goes, they're talking about filling your nature or you're finding your broken, missing piece. And then when Lucy talks about connecting to her other self and seeing her other self, I'm like, is this going back to like a crisis thing? Or is this going back to a other dimension? Or is it, just a creepy cult lady?
Right. I mean, I could see her more as the Granny Goodness, as the try and, find completion with us kind of a thing, kind of a recruitment type way, whereas like Godfrey almost used to kind of like the way he talked, he would like create dissent among everybody. He would drive that wedge and segregate everybody for their own beliefs, whereas she's doing like the recruitment side.
Do we want her to be something more, or we just want her to be her? That's the question. Because what makes it creepier? What makes it stronger? To be like some bigger villain in disguise, or just to be this eerie, creepy woman who is...
Personally,
yeah,
I see it. The creepy woman, just like her being a human, kind of makes it creepier.
Yes, it does. I mean, I'm going to agree with you, because it's not something that Clark can punch in one way. You want him to just swing in and be like, pfft.
I mean, he could, but that would not be Superman. That would be Batman.
What part was it? Oh, it was the part where Allie had dug up stuff on Lois. I'm like, this is the part where Clark would normally call his buddy Bruce, and within 20 minutes getting an all clear from Batman. I'm like, this is what I'm missing in this series, is that let me call my buddy over here.
I mean, that's kind of what John Henry is. He's kind of the Batman of the show.
But you don't have the resources like Batman, Batman would have Allie in a black bag somewhere off-site by the end of this episode.
So he's the Green Arrow of the show.
Yes. But I agree with you. As much as I think it'd be cool to be some other villain in disguise, just her being a human that's like this, and what she's doing to the family is scarier.
Especially with all the real world examples that happen.
Exactly. And the show kind of exists in the sense of Superman in the real world. Okay. So the one character that I haven't liked since season 1, and this proves more, I don't like Chrissy. And this episode just proved more of why I don't like Chrissy.
I like her last name.
Yeah. I've often wondered, I've said this before, that if it wasn't for the recent real life stuff, if Chrissy would have been Chloe. If she would have been that kind of character, just grown up running the Smallville News.
I could see that.
But like at the end of it, she
Wish
says,
real life was different because I wish that had been the case.
"Yeah." 'Cause she's,
I have hope for Chrissy. I could see where they're going to take her storyline, but who knows if they can go a completely different direction. This is all a double bluff from her, and she's just trying to learn about this, only to help Lois out in the end because she learns. I don't know.
maybe
Yeah,
'cause-
I mean, I do. Yeah, that sounds good. I do hope that, like, even if she does kind of get manipulated to a degree, I think that she would be the character to kind of turn around and use the knowledge she's gained from the inside to help Lois in the end.
I do feel that's the obvious thing, but at the same time, this is the show that for how many episodes teased Doomsday only to reveal Bizarro. So what if, again, it's a double bluff from her, and she's got this plan in her head to help expose this woman, to help Lois out from the beginning, and they're red herring us to make it think she's being manipulated by Allie.
Yeah, I mean, it could be part of a plan her and Lois have to begin with that they've kept off screen.
I mean, it could be because I mean, at the end she says, "Tell me about the real Lois Lane," and to me, I'm like, you saw the real Lois Lane.
Yeah.
You saw that her source was her sister. You heard more about the depth of what her sister was experiencing and how Lois risked everything to protect her family. And I understand journalistic integrity and everything like that, but we've already planted the seeds with Christy like last season about with her Lois's dad being in the DOD and Lois trying to, not sway, but the story, for the DOD and Christy being against that. And I'm hoping that she'll understand like what was at stake and what Lois was trying to do to protect her sister. And we'll see how it plays out. I'm interested, but like I said, I've never been fully behind Chrissy. There's always been something there that I'm like, I don't trust her.
Yeah. I could see that. Can I jump back to one of the previous things?
Go
very
for
quickly?
it. There's a lot to cover, so I mean, now we've
So-
kind of hit everybody. We can kind of pick and choose if we missed anything.
Where Bizarro was doing his heat breath on the ground, Bolivia.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys might know this. I can't remember, but isn't that the location of like one of Superman's fortresses that he like? Because he made many in the early 2000s comics, and one of them wasn't one of them in Bolivia.
I knew Bolivia sounded. It feels like that. I have to check because I knew there had to be something more to just. Why is there just? Bolivia?
See, I didn't make a Superman connection. I just thought they used the fact that the world's largest salt flat is there, and it makes a really awesome place to shoot this, or to have this action sequence go on.
It was pretty cool. There was.
Yeah.
I will say, this show has been amazing with the production and the cinematography. That fight sequence was the one time where it felt a little off to me, just a little bit. In the cinematography level, like it just almost felt like you could tell they weren't on the actual salt flat.
Gotcha.
Just to me. I don't know if it was just a me thing, but that's what it felt like just that one time.
I can see that. I mean, the thing is crazy is we get so used to watching these stuff, we start looking for the seams. I think sometimes,
Right.
or you're just like your eyes are attuned to stuff like that. Doesn't look right.
I normally can avoid that. It just took me out for like a second, and then I was able to just jump back in and just ignore it. It just I don't know. Something just seems slightly off.
It could be one of those where they film certain things in a place, and then that part was filmed like in a studio somewhere else, and then of course in editing and everything put it together, and that's why it fell off. Do you guys think was there anything significant about Room 452?
I mean, 52.
Well, yeah.
But
I mean, that's all I really got.
maybe like that was wasn't that like maybe the first issue of like somebody showing up? I couldn't tell you.
Quick, James, to Google.
I'm already on it.
And then, of course, one thing, Lucy blames Lois for their mom leaving, and we established that Lois was 8 when their mom left.
That could just be a case of like younger sibling blaming older sibling for something, though.
Exactly, it is, and it just opens up more of. That's why I'm saying I wonder if we'll actually get to see some sort of footage or something, a flashback with their mom.
Or maybe their mom will just show up back into the picture.
Maybe that's how they'll get Lucy back. That's how it'll be like a Lane family reunion, and that's how they'll bring Lucy back to the good side from the dark side. Is their mom will show up, like, because you know Sam knows where she is.
Yeah,
you don't head the DoD without keeping tabs.
Or maybe this cult will eventually somehow stumble upon XK and Lucy will turn into Superwoman.
Hey, it's possible. You know what I'm hoping for season 3 is that Clark gets split into 2 and we get Superman Blue and Superman Red. Amen, James? What?
Right.
I would literally be happy. I know some people do not like that storyline. I love that storyline because it was so 90s and so weird.
The Electric Superman?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was a kid when it came out. I thought it looked so amazing. I was like, that is so cool. Superman's electric. He's got new powers.
So I actually just got I don't know where it's being sold, but it was at my comic book store. The blue Funko Electric Superman.
Oh man, that's on my to find list. And I hate that they didn't make a red one so that James and I can get our matching Funkos.
Well, actually, according to my comic book store guy, he says he's guessing that because it was an exclusive this year, the red one might be an exclusive. No, this was last year I got it. So he's thinking the red one might be an exclusive later this year.
James, on the hunt, man. We got to find it.
Absolutely.
I talked to him about, like, he knows I look for Superman Funko, so he keeps me appraised whenever like a new one's in the pipeline.
Nice.
Apparently there
go
might
up there
be
with my electric red JLA Superman I've got.
There might be a new version of the Red Sun Superman that might be coming out this year.
That'd be cool.
But he's not sure.
I wish they would start making, like, that's like the one thing McFarlane has been that I feel is let down is they haven't done any new, like, of the new shows merch. Like, I want a Tyler Superman figure. You know?
I want 2. One in classic and one in new.
I want 3. I want the Fleischer suit, the From Supergirl suit, and now his current suit.
Okay, I changed my answer to that one too. I actually like that suit.
Which one? The Supergirl suit?
Yeah.
I like the symbol, and that's the one, and I like the collar. Those are the 2 things with his current suit that I do not like. I don't like the way the symbol lays on his chest, and I don't like how high the collar is around his neck.
I could agree with the symbol on his chest in his current suit. Isn't he supposed to be getting a new suit at some point this season? I swear they said.
I don't know. They gave him new boots this season. That's been the big change.
And they removed some of the padding.
I think part of the padding, and this is just my theory, I think was because of COVID and stuff. He didn't get to get in shape when they first started production, and the suit maybe had more padding. Or it was just one of those things, they built it, they were filming it and realized they needed to decrease it, or, something like that. Or, maybe that suit, because if you go back and study the scenes, maybe it was padded more because they were filming at night. And, like, I don't know. Because for colder shots, it was like a warmer suit or something.
So can I ask you guys something?
Yeah, go for it.
What is your favorite live action Superman suit, and what is your favorite suit you want to see in live action of Superman?
Ooh, I like the last one.
Yeah, because I have a very interesting answer for that second one.
Man, I'm thinking about that one.
I mean, for the second one, I would have to go with I want to see the Rebirth suit. Not the Rebirth suit. The
Reborn suit?
The Reborn suit.
We had the blue boots.
No, it was the one after that. It was where he had the red boots, the red belt with a yellow.
Okay, yeah, okay. I got
Symbol.
them confused in my head.
It's very classic, but it doesn't have trunks. And it's got a red belt with a gold shield on it.
Yeah.
The coloring looks really good. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Superman suits, and that's one I want to see in live action. And as live action suits go, I mean,
Hard answer.
it is. It's a tough answer. I mean,
What pops into your head when I say Superman suit? What's the first one? That's usually what it is. That is your favorite.
I mean,
See, the problem is there's no 100% suit that I fully love everything about.
Fair enough.
So I'm always like, because I like there's things I liked about the Man of Steel suit, but I felt like it was just a little too dark. And a part of that was the way they filmed it, because if you see the suit itself, it's not as dark as it is on film. And then there's things I liked in the BVS suit because I liked the brighter blue, but some of that suit feels a little bit more stiff to me, in certain shots. But then, of course, I love the Kingdom Come suit that Brandon Routh had, because that's one of my favorite suits that I would have said for the second part of the question, but it's already been brought to live action.
yeah. See, so my favorite movie suit is the BVS suit that Henry wears. The Kingdom Come suit is great, but I thought the boots looked a little funny. Like the full body shot, the boots look a little funny in a still photograph.
I know you're talking about.
But then I think the best overall suit that they did on television was the Fleischer suit in Superman and Lois.
I'm going to say my favorite suit. I don't know. Dang it, Tyler. I'm so indecisive. Because there's like parts of everyone I like. So I'm going to lean towards... I guess if I had to watch like one suit repetitive every week, I think I'd go with maybe the BVS suit. Because there's more there. But I know which suit I'd pick for the second part.
So I'll tell you mine if you want.
Okay, go.
So my favorite suit is actually his Justice League suit pre-Black, but not Justice League. Like when you see all the behind the scenes of when it was red and blue, that is my favorite. Just because I think when he did it, it was filmed in the correct lighting. It looked good with that silver padding underneath.
Okay. I like
all
that.
Yeah, that silver looked horrible in Justice League.
Yeah. And then the suit I want to see in live action is the Godfall suit.
See, I was thinking that one. That was one that came to mind because I'm like, what haven't we seen? So that is definitely a good answer. But I'm going to go with Action Comics #1 and see the first, because the Ray Middleton suit was closest we ever got, but it wasn't on film. So I'd like to see an accurate live action creation of Action Comics #1.
That would be cool.
So I feel like that's an iconic suit because the shield is different, the boots are different. I think that would be really awesome to see.
I mean, I can tell you one that I am excited to see. That hopefully will be getting on HBO Max. Perhaps with Michael B. Jordan wearing it, is the Val Zod suit.
Oh, that one will look so cool with the white.
Now, I'm still, I'm definitely excited to see that one if it gets there.
Okay.
I hope it uses like the design, like symbology of the Man of Steel style, but with his own touches, honestly.
I can get behind that. Yeah. I'm going to say Actually, let's just throw out there and do Action Comics #1 for the New 52. I want to see the Farm Boy jeans and boots with the T-shirt. There we go.
I mean, we kind of got that in Smallville a little bit with the black and the Blur outfit he had in season 9.
The Blur. Yeah, that was a horrible name. But hey, the jacket was awesome. It doesn't get enough love. I love the red jacket.
The leather one? I actually have a black version of that leather jacket.
I have the red one.
It's a great jacket. It's warm.
Just want to run around in it.
I have a
Crime.
Tom Hardy Bane leather jacket.
Yeah, he does.
Nice. So, can I bring up something else to you
Sure.
guys? A interesting little story thing that you guys, I think this would be appropriate for here.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm going somewhere with this. So
Go for it.
I have moved 4 major times in my life. And I noticed a pattern recently because I just moved in December to my house that I'm currently in. Every time I've moved, I've either gotten lost or gotten something got damaged in the move that I had that was Superman related.
Ooh.
So the first time I moved in 1998, that Death of Superman comic I mentioned earlier, it lost it. We don't know where it went. I wish I still had that to this day.
Yeah, it sounds like a first edition or something.
It was. I'm guessing because we went to the store the day it was out, I guess. Or it might have been a second print because I think it had been in the news. They were talking about Superman is dead. And my dad went and bought it and brought me to go get it. When I moved out of my parents' house, my Man of Steel Blu-ray got damaged. And I had to replace it. When me and my wife moved into another apartment, you remember the Superman Shazam versus Black Adam animated?
Love
The
it.
DVD of that got lost.
Such a good one.
And then in December, when we moved to this house, I had one of those, you know how they have posters in some Comic-Cons and stuff where it's like a metal poster that they've drawn on? I had a Superman one, and we don't know where it is.
Oh man, that's
I
just
have a
tragedy
backup
all
one for
around.
that. I have a backup one for that, but it was the backup for a reason.
If you could see me now, I have tears forming.
So I told my wife, I am not moving again, ever. And if I do, all my Superman stuff is going in a safe. Literally everything I have that's Superman related, because I just, twice is a coincidence. 4 times, there's some divine thing going on.
That sucks. Because, when I was a kid, I moved a lot and I lost stuff over time. And then James and I both moved over the summer within like a month of each other. And luckily, I didn't lose anything.
But yeah, and it just, that was said, that was the one thing in all the stuff we moved to this house, the metal poster. We don't know where it went. And it was like a 2x3 poster. It's like, how do you lose something that big? We lost it. We think it might have fallen out of the car.
Oh, man. Someone on the side of the road is like, what's this? This is cool. I'm sorry, man.
But yeah, it's whatever. I just thought you guys would appreciate that.
Now, when we got on here, before James jumped on, you said that you had a cool story about meeting. I don't want to spoil it, but you said to remind you, so I'm trying to remind you. So,
Right. So this is 2 different people, both of which have been on screen with a Superman before, but they weren't Superman. So Mr. John Diggle himself is number 1.
Nice.
I got to meet him at a Comic-Con, and you said you wanted to hear something about how you might have, it wasn't one of those standard interactions with a celebrity. It was something that, they probably remembered at least for that day.
Yeah.
So for him, people were coming up to him because it's like, you're John Diggle. And it's like, I came up to him and said, man, I remember seeing you as an extra in the Nutty Professor too. And the look on his face was like, oh man, I can't believe anybody remembers that. He shook his head. And he shook my hand after that. Said, "Then that was a fun time. Just thanks for reminding me of that."
I mean,
awesome.
the only thing that I remember seeing him, I haven't seen the Nutty Professor 2 in forever, and I didn't like it as much as the first one. But the thing I remember seeing him in is 3 to Tango with Matthew Perry and Nev Campbell and Dylan
I forgot
McDermott.
he was in that movie.
He's one of Matthew Perry and Oliver Matthew Perry's friends.
And the only reason I remembered that was because I had literally watched The Nutty Professor 2 like a week beforehand. And I was like, hey, it's Diggle. I forgot he was. So that was what. So the second thing, Jason Momoa.
He's a cool dude. But continue.
He's a very cool dude. So this was right before they announced he was Aquaman, but it was after he was on Game of Thrones, and there was rumors he was going to be playing Aquaman. If you remember that time period.
Yep, that was shortly. You probably met him shortly before I did, based on your description of time.
So I went up to him. A lot of women wanted to meet him. Obviously, there was like 20 girls ahead of me, and I was the only guy in line. They're all meeting him because he's the guy in Game of Thrones. He's this awesome guy. He's this primal man. I go up to him and said, "Hey, man, I loved you on Stargate." And the look on his face was like, "Oh my God, people remember that? I was on that?"
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I straight up asked him that question. Hey, is there any truth? Are you going to be playing Aquaman? And then he looked left and right, like pretending like like it was someone there, like who wearing a Comic-Con, whatever. And he said, "Yeah, I'm playing Aquaman." So I actually knew before anybody. I feel
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
A couple weeks before, and then when it was announced, my brother said, "Hey, that guy from Game of Thrones is going to be playing Aquaman." I was like, "I already knew that."
You're like, see, my wife and I met him at a con, and what's funny is we had the meet and greet was a little bit later, and I was walking to the bathroom, and he had walked from his booth and was walking to the bathroom, and like I stopped because like I don't want to be that weird guy who like follows right behind him in the bathroom, and like then walks in and like, "Hey, what's up?" You know. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait till he comes out, then I'll go in, and then I'll kind of give him a head nod when he comes out, you know, and then I'll walk in. I won't be that creepy guy who's like looks like he's followed because like the timing was just there where it's like could be awkward, and I'm like, I'll just hang out here.
He's a tall guy.
When I met, what was crazy is that we met him twice. The first time we met him, he had on some boots with like some 3-inch like soles to them, and it just was like it made like the picture makes him look so big. And then the second time he just had on like some sandals, so it was like his normal height. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, because I'm 6'3". So the first time I met him, like he looked like he was towering over, like he was taller than me. And I was like, no, he's not that much taller than me. And then when the second picture, you're like, yep, see, look at that, man, we're the same height. Calm down, boy.
Yeah. Can I ask you guys one other thing?
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten to meet any Superman actors that have played Superman / Superboy / Supergirl?
I met Dean Cain in 2018, and then James and I met Tom Welling back in October. We went to a con and got our pictures with Tom on the day of the 20th anniversary of Smallville.
Oh, you lucky.
And
Yeah.
then
That's my only meet and greet.
2019, there's a picture. It's me, my wife, and my kids with Tom, Michael Rosenbaum, and Laura Vandervoot. We got done. And then, because my wife, she like made me this like silent kind of promise thing. Where she was like, every year we're going to find a way to meet a Superman. Part of it was because we didn't get to go to Metropolis in 2018 because we wanted to, because of work and stuff. So in that fall of 18, I met Dean Cain. The next year was Tom. And then in February of 2020, we were actually going to Cleveland. I was going to meet Tyler. But it was right there at the end of the month, right like as COVID had started, and there was like the shutdown was starting, and we were debating, should we go to this big convention thing? Like, And then I guess we decided not to go, but I guess he ended up not showing up, and a lot of people didn't show up and kind of pulled out. So that happened then.
So
but, yeah,
that
and then-
sucks with the timing.
And then if you count it, last year I did a video. It's 2022. So in 2021, I did a video chat interview with George Newbern.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome.
So
I'm saying we had our interview with Jason J. Lewis.
Yeah, and James and I did that back in, was that in 18 or 19?
I think it was 18.
I can't remember. That's how much time has passed and things have just been obscured. And then I did a second interview this past year with Jason. We were doing it for a fundraiser thing. Of course, Jason was the voice of Superman on Justice League Action cartoon. So shining light to that. So.
I really hope you guys in the future get to meet Brandon Routh. He is one of the nicest people on the planet.
That was my main draw for really wanting to go to Metropolis, was to meet Brandon, because he's one of those people like I wanted, who at the time he hadn't got to play Kingdom Come, and I'm like, he just seemed like I liked his Superman, but I liked him, like everything else I had seen him in, the kind of person that seemed like he was, and now after the Kingdom Come, like I want to meet him even more. So it's just like, like
he literally, he took his time. He stood up, he shook my hand. He was just like the nicest guy. How do you pronounce his name? Gerard
Christopher.
Yeah, he's super nice.
I almost got to do a podcast interview with him, and I'm hoping that I get to do that this year.
Tim Daly, he's nice, but when I got to meet him, you could tell he was having a bad day. Like, I think maybe something happened in his personal life. But when people came up to him, it's like he switched to immediately to, "Hi, it's so nice to meet you," and mode.
I want to be like, man, I really liked you on Wings.
And then Melissa, how do you say her last? Well, now Wood, I think it is, right? She's just a sweetheart. She's just such a nice person.
I want to meet her. I want to meet.
It felt like she was awkward at the time, because I think it might have been her first con or something when I got to meet her. Because it was like I don't think she knew what the protocol was or what to do or whatever. Because she was hugging everybody and just being just like, this is not as normal, but
you're like, I'm going with it. This is awesome.
Yeah, got her autograph too. That was fun.
I want to meet Helen Slater.
I want to meet her too.
So she's done so much legacy work in the Superman verse that I'm like, it'd be awesome. I miss cons. They're coming back, but I miss them. But I think that's where we're gonna put a pin in it, guys. We're at a good old hour and 22. Ed, thanks for being here. Really enjoyed it.
No problem.
Where can people find you online if they want to shout with you or talk Superman with you or join the conversation?
So you can find me on Twitter at Edward of Many Fandoms. I post a lot of Superman, a lot of Star Trek, a lot of just random fandom stuff all the time, including some Photoshop edits.
That's how I found him, was on Twitter, people. That's where you can find us. And, just saying, Ed was someone who brought up the idea. Like, he asked if he could come and talk, and I'm sure. That's James and I love talking to new people. It's part of the fun of sharing in this super fandom of just getting to chat with people.
If you ever want me back, just let me know.
Of course, that's what we do. That's what we do. So remember, good listeners, James has a mighty beard and can lift ice with his bare hands. and because of the weather, James prays the same prayer that I do, that he wishes he had heat vision.
You know
or
it.
Heat breath.
Or he be Bizarro and has fire breath.
Either or would work.
That's what I told my wife when we were out walking the snow. I was like, you know what I'd really like right now? And she was like looking at me. She's like, what? I'm like, heat vision. She goes, of course you would. I'm like, yeah, it'd be awesome.
I'll take fly to Florida any day of the week.
See, he's just, there you go. Just remember, everybody.
Look up in the sky.
I want to invite you to check out the Krypton Report Patreon. For $1 a month, you can hear exclusive content. We have discussions on movies or other comics or stuff that's going on in pop culture. We have guest appearances, and we have plenty of fun times. We also have movie commentaries that we like to do. It's one of our favorite things to do. So check that out. It's just $1 a month. It's chump change, it just helps us keep the podcast going. We're not here to make, money off and get rich. It's just nice to have a little help, to pay the bills here. So $1 a month, come join us on our Patreon. Krypton Report, patreon.com.
And if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
If you're enjoying this podcast, here's some of our favorite podcasts to check out. Digging for Kryptonite, The Aspiring Kryptonian, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Last Sons of Krypton, The Geek of Steel, The All-Star Superfan Podcast, It All Comes Back to Superman, and Superboy Legacy, Supergirl Radio, and of course, always hold on to Smallville. Check all those out, enjoy those supercasts, and remember, keep listening. The Krypton Report is a Tears production. We thank you for listening and enjoying, and please support us on our Patreon account, our TeePublic store, and check out our social media. Always remember to look up in the sky.